I come to the end of this series writing about faith and fear. It's really been a journey for me in articulating constructively where I am in my own faith, both for myself as well as for the many people I have in mind, some with faces I know and some not. I've imagined bewilderment, consternation, disappointment upon these faces that I've not said enough or not said something or said too much. And I fear this has led me at times to not saying what I really want to say, to venture further into the chaotic, uncontrollable ocean of religious discourse and trust I will still be okay. I also have a hope that there will be faces of recognition, that these words might somehow bear witness to something we all experience. And this is perhaps the purpose of all such writing. For these people, I fear I've expressed something I did not mean to, a fallacy I slip into all too readily, the fallacy of perfection. And also that I've not expressed something fundamental and crucial in all of my experience, the radical nature of love. So here are the things in closing that I really want to say. What I really want to say is, here is my underlying thesis, that without faith, we cannot love or live well. Instead, we will be controlled by fear. And living between faith and fear is our perennial experience. This isn't politically correct. Faith isn't a popular thing to talk about, let alone give such import to. I think that's because in the everyday of many religious people, it's become simply another set of beliefs or practices to conform to. In my experience, the focus of religious life on justifying and clarifying the content of the stories our faith hears, we've tried to contain the ocean in our religious thimbles. The experience of religious life has made faith another stage of fear with its own scripts about what we should or should not do in order to belong. Another pedestal by which we define us and them, avoid our ultimate uncertainty and shame ourselves and others. Another way to stay safely inland, running scared of the untamable, mysterious ocean. And on the other hand, it is far too easy for those without religion to picture religious life as this, to other the religious and make them into straw men with oppressive, unsophisticated, or intolerant views. But this is not faith. This is the message I want both the religious and the non-religious to hear. A message of what real faith is, something we all share that transcends our ways of othering, something far more precious than anything else we find ourselves compulsively chasing after in order to be tolerable or have some iota of meaning, something we cannot do without, both personally and socially. Faith is the prerequisite for love and transformation. I have given a somewhat embarrassing amount of mixed metaphors for this and tried to convey my own experience, not because I think it is the way of all, but because I want to point to the vital shared path of faith. Faith that draws and strengthens us to push into our fears and find that these fears are doorways to new stories of belonging, hope, and worth. This avoidance and approaching of fear and faith is the constant experience of our lives. Our habits here will define us. What I didn't mean to say. Recently, I found myself tangled up, disillusioned perhaps, with my life as it has been, as I've lived and chosen and related. I am weary of the constant anxiety of living inland, safely and with the inattention of longing for the ocean. I'm feeling the injuries of colonization, how I've been colonized and shamed, how I've colonized myself with self-inflicted mutilation, self-betrayal, how I've tried to colonize and shame others. I'm frustrated by the straitjackets of my life scripts. My preoccupation has been with how to rid myself of these, how to push into the fears that drive these compulsions and so be free. I try to set up practices where I'm still enough to hear the cries of my spirit and wait for the whispers of another story, but these are so hard to keep. So much else imposes itself on me, or at least so much in me imposes other things, or they become the conditions by which I assess my worth. And so I'm left with the paradox that that which is most important never imposes itself, must be free to move and free to be sensed, and that which is so much less important is always imposing itself. And when I try to face my fears, to dive into the seas of relationships, to venture out into seeking a more meaningful life, I feel so hurt or disappointing or a failure again. I feel the tug to remain as I am because I feel wounded again. I get tastes, fleeting moments of faith, of touching and being touched by the other, a transformation, but when I try to keep them, claim them, live by them, they all fall from my grasp. I fall through to my old pits of fear and shame, and I find that this drives me deeper into despair. You see, what I fear I have implied is that if we just get in touch with our faith, we will be well. We'll be set free. This is a fallacy. This is its own script of how we should live on its own stage that masks the reality of life's ambiguity, ambivalence, chaos, and our own limitedness. Our own unique dance between faith and fear will constantly define us. Sometimes faith will lead, sometimes fear, but it will perpetually be the dance of our lives. Faith, for some reason, never lets go of its partner. What I have not said yet. And so I find myself living in a deeper sort of wound. Teresa of Avila calls this a delicious wound. It's the wound of acknowledging all these compulsions, fears, and shames, and finding I cannot free myself from them. A wound of powerlessness and frustration. A wound of seeing the stage and audience and script I live on and inescapably finding myself speaking the lines, acting the part, fearing the critics. And yet it is delicious because it severs me from my endless, frantic pursuit of perfection, or self-making, or independence. It pierces the endless beating drive to do, achieve, be flawless, make others okay, not be a disappointment, take responsibility for others, for it severs the fantasy that I can. I'm faced with my ultimate powerlessness, even over myself. But more, and this is where my fears of what others might think have limited me, but I now believe is the core of what needs to be said, the core of transformation. This wound is the space in which love can truly penetrate through our hardened, self-protected skin. Again, this is the necessary wound for an influx and welling up of self-love, transcendent love, where being loved and loving all can occur. But finally, I know I'm loved as I am, however I am, even if I remain stuck in cycles of fear, hurting and oppressing myself and others. I know that the cosmic flow, or as Merton put it, the cosmic dance of love flows without me and within me. However I defend myself from it, or diffract and disperse it through my unique fractures, contortions, and powerlessness, even as I run scared to the shore, climb up my constructed stages and pedestals to feel like I'm safe and tolerable again. This is radical love. For me, this is the story of the cross. For me, this is what Julian of Norwich meant when she said, all should be well, and all manner of things shall be well. For me, inasmuch as the still waters of faith hear this story, can I, to that degree, to which my faith hears this story can be detached from my fearful ways. And I cling to this hope that one day, though not in this life, all my fears will cease, and my faith will find a new partner, even the cosmic dancer. Perhaps you will struggle with some of this. Perhaps you will disagree. Perhaps you will have different words. But I hope that that is other in my story, anything different that you feel will not shut you down from faith, but might invite you to listen into and cherish even more the stories that the stillness of your own precious faith hears and remembers.